Okay, we're live. So this is the fourth weekly meeting, and oh yeah, so I could see that there were not very many presentations in the team presentation folder. So if you just want to make sure that yours is added, and then that your code is pushed to GitHub as well for any presentations anyone has done, and that makes it easier to get the sandbox code from people, so I can put it into, so we can all put it into our understanding portfolios. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions about doing that? Does everybody know how to push to GitHub?
We're just pushing to the master folder, right?
That's what I was doing. What do you think, Alec? Because it's your folder. Allie, did you hear me?
No, sorry. Did you say something to me?
Yeah, I was just wondering. Are we just pushing our GitHub code to the master folder of our team folder?
Yeah, I think.
Is that what you wanted? Because it's on your GitHub repository.
I don't think it matters.
Okay.
Master sounds fine. Make it easy to find.
Okay. Cool. Okay, and then the tech lessons are Sierra and Allie, and Maxine obviously isn't coming. So yeah, do you want to present, Allie?
Yeah, that's fine. I can start since I was after Maxine.
Okay.
I'll just open it. Okay. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, so mine was CSS3 animations, and I don't know how much. I'm more of a beginner when it comes to this. I know some of you guys have more experience, so if you guys have experience with animations, then a lot of this first will be review for you. Because since I didn't really know much, I started from the beginning for me. But just basically what an animation is and how it's supposed to help change from one style to another using CSS, and you can change as many properties as you want. And as many times as you want. I mean, you can set it to be an infinite animation. You can set times for them. You can, however you want to do it. And then with that, though, you have to specify keyframes. And keyframes are what hold what styles the elements will have, and at the certain times. And so first I went over like the different properties, because you have obviously the keyframe property with CSS animations, and then you have obviously the animation property, and then you can also use all the sub properties to help you configure the animation how you want, so timing and a lot of different things. So I wrote down all the different animation properties, except I have this I chose the wrong thing. Anyways, you kind of can't see these bottom ones. I'll have to change the background. But sorry if my kids are too loud. I apologize. So these are all the different subproperties that you can use when creating animations. There is animation delay, which configures delays between the time the element is loaded and the beginning of the animation sequence. You have the direction, so you can have it alternate directions or reset it or have it repeat. You have duration, which is the length of time that for one cycle, and then you have iteration count, which could be how many times you want it to repeat, or like I said, you can have it do infinite if you want it to just continue going. You have the name, which, hey Kaya. Play state, which lets you pause and resume it, and then you have timing, comparing the timing and how it transitions through the keyframes, and then fill mode, what values are applied by it before and after it is executed. And then I kind of talked about the keyframes rule and how it kind of works a little bit. So because like you configure the timing, and once you configure the timing you want to use using like subproperties and stuff, and you use the keyframes to help configure it, and you can use percentages to indicate the time during the animation sequence at which it will take place, and so 0% is the first moment of it, and 100% is the final state of the animation. And then you have from and to, which are part of that. Hey, Kaya, I need you to be quiet, sweetie. Okay? And then I had some examples, because I know let's see, what's my example? For the crap app, we had talked about doing like a flip with the questions, like having the questions on a box and having it flip over to reveal the answer. And this one is a click option, so you could do it with a square. So these are ways you could use CSS3 animation maybe for that. And then I also found this, and I don't know if we're allowed to use this because I'm pretty sure it uses jQuery, and we're not allowed. I don't know if we were supposed. I think he said he didn't want us using jQuery in our apps, but I liked this. It's kind of a cheat sheet, and it gives lots of different animation examples. And they also give you the code for it. You can download the code, but I just thought they were fun. All these big entrants. Yeah, so I thought these were good examples, and like I said, I think some of them use jQuery maybe, and so I don't know exactly with that, but I didn't look too far into it to see if it used it or not. Anyways, but that's about all I had on animations today. I like this one, Hatch. It's kind of fun because you see a lot of these are used in websites today. I mean, when you look at, let's see, see, a lot of times when you look at websites nowadays, they have those things that pop up. If you notice how that's slid up, and a lot of websites that take advantage of CSS3 animations a lot more than they used to. So, just some examples. Yeah.
Cool. It doesn't seem like, it seems like easier than I thought it'd be to use.
What'd you say?
It seems like it's easier than I thought it'd be to use. Because it's all just pure CSS, right, to do that?
You have there's also there's a lot of JavaScript in some of them. It all just depends on how you want to
Like implement it.
implement it. Yeah, exactly. Because I like the on-click ones that uses some JavaScript if you want it to be with like when they click it.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I just know that there are a lot of animations where you have to incorporate JavaScript into them in order to get them to work how you want them to. But there are also a lot of animations that don't require anything but CSS. So it just depends on how you're wanting to have it incorporated into your app.
Okay, that makes sense.
From your reading, did you find out what the difference is between a transition and an animation? Like,
I do remember reading that. Trying to remember what I read. Gosh, I can't remember what I read, but
It seems like animations can do a lot more than transitions can do.
yeah, transitions. I think. Let's see. Animations to transitions. They're similar because they both allow you to specify CSS properties you want to change, and they both let you set timings and durations. Differences, basically, I think, is how you trigger them to play, or how complicated how complicated you're getting, I think. But I think the major difference is how you trigger them to start. Because a transition, I think, only plays as a reaction to CSS, and then, so like, when you hover over something, I think.
Yeah. I think it's mostly a hover thing.
Yeah, and then, like, animations, there's a little bit more specification there, and you can incorporate it with like jQuery and JavaScript and stuff. I think transitions are always I don't know. Well, no, I think you can do it with JavaScript too. I don't know. Enough. I didn't read that much about transitions. I just read about animations. But.
Yeah.
okay.
I don't know if any of you know more about that. You could specify. But.
I mean, I presented on transitions, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely less functions than the animation had more like specificity, whatever. Anyways, and then, but yeah, it seemed mostly like it was for hover. I think it was triggered by hover, and I mean, I think you could kind of like hack it so that you can trigger the hover with an on-click or something, but I don't think that's really what it's for.
Yeah, I'd say I'm reading right here that it's let's see if a transition is defined. It's normally so it looks like it's normally for a hover. You can trigger it to use JavaScript to add or remove CSS classes, but to simulate a change, but it's still CSS that is triggering the transition. Does that make sense? You can use JavaScript. This is what I'm reading. It says you can use JavaScript to add or remove classes of CSS, but it's still CSS that's triggering the transition. So.
Okay.
Animations.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Animations you can have start automatically, whereas I think transitions have to be triggered, and animations you can use with like JavaScript and stuff. But. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
No problem.
You ready for my presentation then?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So using local data storage, it was all new to me, so I just kind of started at the beginning. Web storage is a new HTML5 API. I don't know if you say API or API, but API. It offers important benefits over traditional cookies. It's still in draft status, but all the major browsers support it, so you can start using it. I had to look up what an API was. It's a set of routines, protocols, and tools for building software applications. They specify how the software components should interact, and they're used when programming GUI components. Basically, they come from the software developer, make it easier for you to write for their stuff. So it says that like web storage started with cookies, which are limited. They had some good factors. They would allow for automatic logins to sites that we frequently use, but our search and browsing history can be tracked, so it led to privacy concerns. Some other problems with cookies are that they had data storage, like capacity limits. So each cookie can store only about 4 kilobytes. Most browsers allow 30 to 50 cookies. So if you filled up one, you had.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
Oh, hi, Dan.
Dan.
Allie's in the middle of her presentation. Allie, I can see your presentation, but it doesn't scroll through the slides. So if you're doing that.
So you can't see it presenting.
Oh, now I can.
So if I put it in presenter mode, you can't see it.
I guess not. Right now I can.
Right now I see it on the limitations of cookies.
Yeah.
No, okay.
There's web storage. What's an API?
Yeah. Now it's
Limitations
moving
of
through the
cookies.
slides.
Okay. So most browsers allow 30 to 50 cookies, but that's still a limitation. They fill up quickly. So because of that limitation, developers were only storing user and session identifiers in the cookies, and the rest had to be stored on a server-side database. Another overlooked side effect of cookies is that they're sent with every HTTP request, even images, so that means that you're using more data because everything is getting resent every time. It's not being stored locally. So the new generation of web storage is this web storage API, and there are two main strengths of it. The ease of use for web developers, the simple API to get and to set the key/value pairs, and the amount of space it provides. It's up to the web developer, the browser developers, to decide how much space is allotted per domain, and it's usually no less than 5 or 10 megabytes. So that gives you a lot more space to work with if you're developing. And then on the user side, since it doesn't have to be stored in a database, they can store the user preference settings, localization data, and use temporary offline storage for batching server writes, whatever that means, and much more. There are two types of web storage objects: session storage and local storage. Session storage is only available within the browser tab or the Windows session. It's designed to store data in a single web page session. So once you close the browser or the window, it's gone. But local storage is kept even between browser sessions. It's still available when the browser is closed and reopened, and it's available instantly between tabs and windows. It says that web storage data is not available between different browsers. Like if you make something in Firefox, you can't get it back in Internet Explorer.
Oh, okay. So for session storage, so you have if you close your whole browser window, not just like the tab, then it still saves the session. I mean, it doesn't save the session.
It doesn't save, right? Local storage.
Just close like an individual tab, but you still have like Chrome up. Does that save a session storage?
I don't think so. If you close a tab, it's gone. So just because you didn't close the whole browser window, it's still gone. You closed the tab that you were using. It was session storage.
Okay.
Okay, so some like examples of when to use local storage would be storing an online to-do list, and it pushes to the server in intervals instead of in real time. Saving products the user places in their shopping cart so that it can be made between, like, even if you close your browser window and you put something in your cart, next time you open your window, it's still in there. Like, I do that all the time on Amazon. That's how that's done, is with local storage. And apps can actually be used offline completely using local storage. So you use it, and then the data is sent and stored on the server side again when you're online again. So the interface for creating session storage and local storage is identical. The terminology is all the same, and they're global objects. So you can use the set item method to set the key and its value, and then a get item to retrieve the value of a specific key. And there's some basic, really basic code there. So you would use this kind of, I don't know, setup for writing the code. Whenever we store data in local storage, the storage event is fired in other browsers and Windows tabs. So if you save something as an event, then you can open the same site in different tabs, and it'll synchronize. Which apparently was an issue with cookies. And the storage event is only fired when the new value is not the same as the old value. And there's code here that shows how you would add the event listener on the window object for the storage event. When the event happens, a function that logs the key, old value, and new value to your console is executed.
So that's like when you have 3 tabs of iLearn open and you only log into one. Is that what's causing them to be, so that login event is shared across those tabs?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for having that example, because I wasn't sure how to describe it. That was perfect. So web storage is not more secure than cookies. SSL only sends, the server and the client only communicate using encrypted data. So that's why you see more HTTPS protocol these days than just the HTTP, because it's encrypted. And it says not to store sensitive data like passwords or credit card numbers on the client side. And you shouldn't send that kind of data to the client. So you wouldn't store any passwords or credit card numbers in local storage. And finally, web storage is also referred to as DOM storage. They're the same thing. It's because data is actually stored in JavaScript's window object. And web storage, like cookies, can be turned off by the user. So you have to implement a fallback mechanism in case Windows session storage or Windows local storage isn't available. And then I got example code from this webcodegeeks.com, and it has a little hold on. I'll share the screen to show you that. So I've got the HTML5 code for the local storage, the JavaScript, and the CSS, and they combine together to create this web app that makes a shopping list. So you have, let's say you add toilet paper, and you need 2. And you save it. If we closed the window and came back to it, they would still be there. So if you had this on your phone and you had a link to this and you made a little grocery list, even if you were offline or you didn't have data on your phone, you could pull up your grocery list and it would be whatever it was the last time you opened the screen. And I'll put all that code out into the video so you can play with it and see how you can change it up and use it.
Cool. Thanks. So when you mentioned the backup for local storage, would that just be like cookies?
I don't know. Sorry.
That's okay. Just wondering.
It's a really good question.
Another thing, so you said that this is kind of like the new way of storing information. So this isn't just like a mobile thing for local storage, like all websites, from what you know, all websites are moving towards using local storage instead of cookies?
That's what they said, yeah, that it is the new way to do it. That cookies are kind of a thing of the past.
Okay, cool. And I mean, because I know how cookies work, and you kind of talked a little bit about it. You said that they store like a number for each client, and then everything else is stored on the server side, and they access it through that code or whatever. So that's not how local storage does things. It just like stores the actual information.
It seems to store. You can decide how much it stores, but it would basically be the input that it's storing.
Okay. And then it saves like in intervals, kind of like how in Google Docs you can work on it, but it saves like every few minutes or something.
Right, like each new iteration. So if something is if something is a new event, it will replace the old event with the new one in your local storage. So you've got the newest version always saved.
Oh yeah, but I was actually talking about because doesn't it also interface with the server in intervals? Is that what you were talking about or not?
No, I think it was more about the iterations of the actual locally stored data. And then it updates anything that's on the server side, like Google Docs would be, maybe that's what you're asking.
Okay, yeah.
Like if you updated a Google Doc but you were offline, when you got back online it would update your Google Doc on the server.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's up to the application, right? That's not an automatic built-in or anything, is it?
It would be something that you built into the code, but it comes in that local storage settings.
Gotcha, thanks.
It has to be done programmatically. The set item, local storage.set item, that's when it physically will save it. And until then, it stays the same, if I might interrupt.
Please.
What stays the same?
The local storage that you can see on the browser, if you do a right-click, inspect elements, you can see the actual values that are stored. You can change anything you want on the screen, but until some event happens where you execute the line of code there that I just put in the group chat, nothing changes until the program actually does something.
So like until you click a submit button, nothing is actually saved.
Exactly. Uh-huh.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Allie. That was a really good presentation.
Thanks.
Okay, so if there are no other questions for Allie's presentation, I think we're done with the presentations. So if you could just remember to put your presentation in the group folder and push your code to GitHub so that it can happen. Did you have any sandbox code, Sierra, from your presentation?
Yes, but I didn't have it finished to like show you how it would work, and so I was just gonna finish it and push it up into the repository.
Okay, cool. Well, if you could just put it in GitHub, then we can all access it. So yeah, whenever you finish that, that'd be great. And I think we need to, because we're supposed to have 3 to 4 presentations every time, so I think we need to reassign Maxine's presentations that she was supposed to do. And there's just two spots left for where she was going to present. So I can take, I can do one of hers.
I can do one.
And you'll do the other? Okay, thanks, Dan.
For week 6 and week 8.
Yeah. So, do you have a preference, Dan, for week 6 or week 8?
I have no preference.
Okay, week 6 she was supposed to do JavaScript objects, and week 8 is we're gonna choose that one. So, I'll go ahead and do JavaScript objects, and I'll put you in for week 8.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, so okay, that seems good. Okay, cool. So for new assignments, next week, Garrett will teach using local data storage again, expanding on what Allie did this week, and Dan will do AJAX interactions with remote services, and I'll talk about JSON data serialization.
Great.
Okay, cool. I think that's everything. Do we want to like pick a time that we want to pick an app, because I know we need to do a team presentation before week 8.
Yeah, we need to decide, I think.
Just decide. Maxine isn't here anymore, so it seems like the obvious proposal, I mean, like the obvious option is to go with Sierra's app. But what does everybody think about that?
Yeah, either one is fine with me. They both met the criteria, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with either.
What were the two that you proposed? There was the
The seminary scripture tracker app, and then the crap app, which is like
okay.
things.
And I think y'all sent those to me, so you're just going to choose one or the other of them, I guess.
Yeah.
'Cause I think they were both green lighted. Just let me know.
Okay. And then we need to come up with a formal team presentation before week 8. Is that right?
No, don't worry about that. Just sending me the 2 proposals that you've done already, and me giving you the feedback saying, if you make sure you cover this base here, then I'm good with this application, or this one sounds like it's too much to bite off, limit the scope. You guys choose. So you're at the point now that I've looked at them, both of them can jump over the necessary hurdles. So you guys choose and let me know, and I'm going to put it on my spreadsheet just so I know what you're working on, and you're done with that. I don't need a fancy proposal.
Okay.
Save that for your how to use PowerPoint class.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm glad.
One less presentation is always good.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I answer any questions for you guys? It sounds like you're starting to wrap up. Can I help with anything? Anything that you're confused on? And if you're not confused, then you haven't been looking at things correctly. So.
What should we be doing all week long?
Make sure you get your visiting teaching done. all week long, you're going to be studying. You know that you've got to cover all of the code topics and create a page for your web portfolio covering that topic. And so if you're nice and organized, you might tackle one topic each week or two topics each week. Or if you're a little schizophrenic, you might try and do a whole bunch of them and just work on a lot. So you're learning those topics. That's your big goal. The output of that process is you're providing me a link to a DOM page. Here's, Brother James, where I've started to understand DOM, and then you progress from there. Every couple of weeks you might update your DOM with local storage or interaction with Ajax. And my next thing I'm going to do here this morning, I've been listening to team videos and topic presentations all morning. I'm going to start grading here in just a minute and see how the portfolios are progressing. So work on your portfolios.
Okay.
Then if you get to stumbling blocks, bring those up in team meetings, post those in the big class community to ask if anybody's figured out how to do X, Y, Z if your team's not familiar with that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
So if that's all.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
So I think, yeah, let's just for now say that we're going to go with the crap app, and but just to like give everybody time to mull over it in case there are any objections, we'll just talk about it real quick next week too.
Was Maxine the one providing the like hosting service?
I think you had said that you were gonna host on Just Host.
I had Just Host.
Oh, you were, Sierra?
Sierra, okay.
Yep. And so, however we want to do that, I can just open up a subfolder in a domain I already own, or if we want to get one, we can. I don't care.
I think a subdomain is fine.
Okay.
Nothing fancy.
Yeah. And that way you can keep it as your, like, for your portfolio item, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's nice to always have. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know that we're going to start working on our app for a while, but it's good to like have that in mind while we do this stuff.
Well, you can. I mean, a good idea too is kind of keep it in mind as we're doing our presentations and coming up with our sandbox code, because we could even play. Our sandbox code could be playing around with ideas that we maybe want to incorporate into the app, and then we get to the code out of the way.
Absolutely.
My sandbox code for my innovation was I was going to do the flipping effect, which is something we talked about using in the app, and so.
That's a good idea. Yeah, if everyone wants to try to, like, yeah, try to like focus their sandbox code towards that.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Okay, yeah, the one thing I did wonder about the crap app is what kind of information are we going to store on the local storage?
That was something we were debating. I mean, what did we end up writing? I think we had said, we were teasing about the idea of, because we talked about how we could make we'd have like boxes that had the questions in them and how they would look like, we could make them look like toilet paper, and then like and how it flips over. We'd have like, you have to click on the question for it to flip over and show you the answer. And so when you click on it, then it keeps track of which ones you've clicked on, so it kind of is keeping track of how much toilet paper you've used. That was kind of what we were teasing about. But
And it wouldn't put the same question up again until you'd been through all of them or something.
Okay, that's a good idea. I'm like, I'm trying to imagine like what you're talking about. I'm not very good at like visualizing this in my head. So like the toilet paper is unrolling as the questions are.
No,
Right. But that's what I was thinking, is that you could like use a finger swipe you could scroll through the questions that were a roll of toilet paper and then choose the one you wanted, and it would flip over to the answer like Sierra was describing.
yeah. And we figured that you'd have it if your screen is vertical, then you'd be scrolling like it down and up, and if your screen was sideways, you'd be scrolling it right and left.
Okay. Okay. Maybe you can just explain it again to me next week, because I'm like,
That's fine.
I'm not very good at this. Anyways, it sounds good though. Okay. Okay, well, that's everything for this week. Does anyone have anything else they want to talk about before we end? Okay, great. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. See you next week.
Thank you.
Good meeting you guys.
Thank you. Good talking to you too. Oh, and if anyone has questions that they like just about their own sandbox code, I think we can post those to the group community too, if you have, and we can just help each other out better. Okay, well, anyways, thanks.
Yep, thank you.